always we always get on. I always send him a link. Sean gets, because we do this through Zoom. So Sean gets into the waiting room. I admit him into the chat, and then we start talking, and we start having the show without having the show. So we won't press record or anything like that. And just before we start tonight, Sean's like, "Oh, we're burning all of our good shit," which is something it seems like we always do, whether Garrett's here, whether it's Sean and I, whatever. It seems
Right.
like we always do that. We always burn the shit on the stuff that isn't being recorded. So, and lo and behold, that happened again tonight. But
So, well, yeah, we're trying an experiment where once we realize it, we cut it off and like try to,
try to get
not,
on and start
yeah,
recording.
yeah, exactly.
But now
Let's,
it's gonna be like, oh well,
yeah. Oh, I
yeah,
think these signings look fine.
yeah.
Everything's everything's mediocre. Let's keep going.
Anyway, but Sean, we are back again. Another episode of Make City Make Spence. Adam Hernandez, Sean Spence. Sean, we
Hey,
are less. Yeah, we're
sorry.
how you well, how you doing tonight? How you doing tonight?
I mean, I'm fine.
Yeah.
It's all right. I, I think it's an interesting moment, kind of a potential inflection point. I think with the kind of perception of Detroit City as a football club right now, because um, when I listen to like the backheeled guys talk about Detroit City and the people they're signing, they seem fairly sanguine about how things are going. Like, all right, and there's a lot of things you could say. Like, I mean, there's a lot of basic data points around the roster that I think look good, right? Like it's a larger roster than we've seen
Hmm.
in the past. Um, a lot of the changes that have been made in the last year have changed the age profile of the roster, made it, so it's not all 28 to 31-year olds. Like we've got some guys who are just out of the developmental stage of their career or still in it, that are considered, roster guys. And talking about like Kobe and Haruki and those guys. So
Hmm.
a youth, like we're not really a young roster, but there is a bit of youth in the roster now.
Sure.
So that's positive. Um, but to me, when I look at what we've put together here, what we're really hinging a huge amount of hope on is Callum Montgomery's excellence, which,
Hmm.
if he is a very good or even pretty good USL championship center back at this point in his career, then, all right, sure. But, to me, citing his numbers from the Canadian Premier League is like citing his numbers from like, you know, just it's a different level of football. Like I was going to say, like from youth football, but like that's obviously a little. I'm being a little harsh there, but still, like okay, I don't know how that really you know compares, and I don't know how that translates, given what we've seen from our CPL contingent in the last couple years, right?
Yeah. It.
And
It. Yeah.
And then the other thing is, and I think this is probably the key point, which is that we spent a lot of time talking about how we really liked the last show. We spent a lot of time talking about how we really like the attacking pieces that we put together. We like Alex Dalu. We like obviously um, uh,
Atas
re-
Diaf.
really love Attis, and we have hope for Jesse L. Either playing a little more withdrawn or as a backup guy.
Hmm.
So that all looks good, but what we were talking about is that we really needed more than Darren. That Darren, after his kind of hot start, was an extremely unexceptional championship striker.
He was
Just didn't he
neutralized.
doesn't create his own shot, doesn't get enough shot. I mean, um, the numbers are stark. He's a shot shy striker. He doesn't get two shots a game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's just not enough. Um, and um, what we've done to address that issue is sign a 34-year-old who was playing in Saudi Arabia. So, you think, oh, well, Saudi Arabia was playing in the Saudi Arabian second division
Mm-hmm.
and hasn't played football since that term ended in the summer. So he's 34 and coming off a 6-month layoff. Um, okay, sure. Um, that does not seem to me, um, unless we really pulled a rabbit out of the hat here, that does not sound to me like somebody you're signing to be your starter, right? We want somebody on top of Darren. This is like okay. And then today they announced the signing of Preston Etaka or Etaka Preston,
Mm-hmm.
whichever of those two people is the striker.
Yeah, because
Um,
we've seen it come across two different ways.
right.
The
Yeah.
club's ways, and then I've seen it was on Transfer Market a different way. So yeah.
Yeah. And again, this is a guy who is out of contract after not blowing anyone's mind with Birmingham,
Mm-hmm.
a side that didn't blow anyone's mind last year, and a guy who's he like hang your hat on it like stat tally is contributing 7 goals in 31 appearances for the Las Vegas Lights, maybe 8 goals.
Yeah,
8 goals.
his best
8 goals.
season was back
Sorry.
in 20. Yeah, his best season was back in 2019.
So just before the pandemic, this dude scored 8 goals in an entire season for the Lights. And that's the best season he's had. So like it's like we got to the end of the night and the lights came on at the bar and the two girls that we were talking to that we thought maybe we were going to bring both home, they turned out not to be actual humans, but like I don't know, man, it's bad is what I'm saying. Like this just feels like we just signed the what free agents were around
The
as
bargain
like, well,
bin. The
it's like, well, shit, there's a couple weeks left. We got to get some people in here.
Yeah.
Um, and you know what I'm hoping is that um, I'm hoping that I'm seeing it wrong. You know, I'm hoping that what looks to me like a recruitment effort that is lacking in depth and insight is in fact full of depth and insight and is going to and what we've created here is a resounding and flexible roster that is going to storm the Eastern Conference of the United Soccer League. I really hope that. Like, I would love to be wrong. And this is where it frustrates me. Like, I saw this thing. I read the Detroit City FC Reddit every so often. You know,
Hmm.
um, and there's somebody who I think was talking about us, right? Talking about. They didn't name, of course, they didn't like name the
The
show
podcast. Yeah.
or whatever, but they were like somebody on these podcasts. They're all rooting for the stadium not to get done. And it's like, we're not rooting for the stadium to get done. We're saying, oh my God, they said this would be the hospital would be torn down
Yeah.
by September, and it's fucking December, and it looks untouched. Doesn't that seem to be a problem if we're going to be into this place in
Yes.
18 months?
Hmm.
And like, okay, maybe that's just my like layman's stupidity that I don't realize that when you say you're going to tear something down by September, you clearly mean by December, and that's no big deal. Um, but like I feel like at that point, like to think that what I want is for them to fail in this spectacular way that I'm sort of observing them failing is is insane.
No,
Like
and
I don't
and
I don't want this club to suck. I want this to be good. I want our football to be an outgrowth of our, superior strategy and our superior um, willingness to like dig in and work and do and get the details right and all of that shit. And it feels to me like we're sliding into just another business territory where it's like, well, we're doing the best we can, and like, we don't have a scouting department. Um, we fired the scouting department and didn't replace him. He was a unicorn who kept it all in his head. And so at the moment they cut ties with him, it was all gone. They're like, you just vaporized what could have been, years of effort um, with one decision. And now, this is, you sowed the wind and now you're reaping the whirlwind, right? And, but we don't know that they're reaping the whirlwind yet. That's the frustrating thing to me is that like this clearly looks bad, but who fucking knows? Like football's weird, and continues. We're watching the game at the top level morph in like real time, in the European game, uh, in a way that's like wild. The kind of players you're looking for, the kind of approach that is favored in top flight football in especially in England, but increasingly in Germany and Italy, um, is not is a matter of space control and like there's a kind of anti-Cruyffian revolution happening, especially within the Premier League, that places a primacy on physicality, the meat wall, um, and all of that. And that's a 180-degree change from like 4 years ago, you know,
Yeah.
and it's wild. So, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's the underlying lack of confidence because football is so variable and changes so much. Like, maybe they're onto something. I don't want to discredit that idea. If they go out there and win the first 8 matches, I don't want, I will be delighted and I will be interested to describe how that's happening. But at this point, looking at the roster that we're both looking at, like I am, I don't know where the goals are going to come from if it is an Ate Strouff like all day and every day. So sorry,
I want
I just went on for
no.
like 15 minutes, man. And I
No,
don't even
you're
feel
no,
like
you're good. No, you're good because like the show is Make City Make Spence, and part of this is making things make sense to people when it comes to city. And I will say this too, Sean, that sort of like a disclaimer, um, that we're not looking to be negative here. We're not looking to, shit on the club any chance that we could possibly get.
yeah,
What we're going to do though is I think both of you and I are set on just saying things straight, like how we think they actually are, based on our own observations, based on things that we've heard,
oh my God,
based on things that we've seen. And I don't want to go here and I don't think we want to sugarcoat any of this for anybody. I mean,
right.
if
I
we
just
think the team if we think
right.
the team isn't any good, then we're going to tell you the team isn't any good, or we don't think that they're any good, and that the season may not be all that great. I'm sorry, Sean, go ahead.
No, it's just like at some level, this is like we're a football podcast about Detroit City Football Club,
Mm-hmm.
and we exist in a spectrum of, and it seems to me that the American soccer media is um they kind of come off as like infantilized a little bit in terms of the
Mm-hmm.
way they talk about the game a lot of times. It's the same kind of treatment that women's sports gets in the media, which is like
Sure.
only positive stories, only
Mm-hmm.
happiness.
Yep.
Everything's upside. Look how great, like that kind of thing. And it's at some at some in some ways I can see how okay that it probably does contribute to damping down negativity, I guess, but
Mm-hmm.
it also contributes to damping down like speaking clearly about reality. And so I don't, if you are a person listening to this and you're thinking, wow, these guys are harsh, like I beg you to just listen to a fan podcast um, of someone who really follows Arsenal or Liverpool or Dortmund or Juventus. Um, like we are fucking Pollyannas. In the world spectrum, right? While we're unusually harsh in USL for noting anything negative or interrogating our negative feelings on
Yeah.
the air, um, that does not put us in the like anywhere near being like a negative podcast. You know what I mean? And like I feel like we're kind of at the risk of sounding defensive. We didn't talk about this at all before.
No, we
Like,
did. No.
it's not a thing we've talked about. Uh, but I read that Reddit thread and I was like, Jesus, like these people really think that I'm like, like suck it, bitches. Oh, your stadium is not going to be ready in time. Like, what? What the fuck, man? I am not. It's not. With me. I would love good things to happen from City, and I wish that they were comporting themselves slightly differently in public. But this is my club, and
No, yeah. We're
uh,
not we're not sitting here wishing the stadium doesn't get built or Alex Wright's, steak is undercooked. I mean, that's not what we're doing here. We're telling you how we think it is. And like I said, based on that observations. And I don't listen to any Arsenal podcasts, but I can only imagine what an Arsenal podcast is like with some of those
yeah.
um with some Arsenal supporters or,
Well,
like
like
you said, Liverpool supporters. I just
over the last couple years, the Arsenal podcasts have evolved into like there's the ones that aren't crazy are a lot of like therapy talk.
Yeah, I can get that too. I can get
Um,
that too.
and then there's the people who've gone like round the bend. But like I'm a Liverpool supporter, so I listen to the Anfield rap a lot.
Hmm.
And these are people who like um they comment on the performances in a very what I view as a very realistic way. They're able to say, you know like this weekend that was shit, and I'm glad we got 3 points, but that was shit. And I hope that American football knowledge can like get to the point where we can do that sort of thing, where we can say, hey, yeah, we weren't at our this was a terrible performance, and here's how we're going to try to fix it or whatever, and not just be like, I think we was fine, shut up, about everything.
So like you mentioned, Sean, we got Tabort, Etaka, Preston, and Chisom Igbuchulam, signed, sealed, and delivered
Yep.
for City.
Okay, so I got
Um,
one more name to throw in here because
okay.
I heard both these names and one other name all in one go, and the name is not unfamiliar to Detroit City fans. But as I understand it, we might be talking with Rafa Minsingen, um, who of course played for City one summer. He is uh, a Brazilian. Who plays un-Brazilian football. He's a winger who can carry the ball a bit. He has difficulty connecting passes routinely. He's a player who would be decent on a very direct team, where he didn't have to do a lot of intricate possession work. Possibly, he's also coming off a knee injury. Um,
Well, that's
so that apparently is a thing.
that's a prereq
You know,
for any City player
that
right
is
now.
right. Like, do we have some kind of like special like we have a secret magical thing that we know can heal like six knees good as new, and we're just waiting to get all that. We need the sixth knee in here so we can do the ritual, and then they'll all be like, ba ba ba, like they're like new. Ben Morris is like he's dancing today.
I
Um,
mean, you got to wonder what Maureen's thinking with all these knee injuries
oh
coming
my
in.
God. Well, I mean, at some level, I guess, um, all of your structures for these rehab situations like perfectly set up because like you're like, okay, so we're gonna, you know, all of the points where this is the thing we're looking for to move to the higher level of activity and all that. Like you've got it all right in your head because you've been doing it with two guys now, three guys now, four guys now, five guys.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't know. It is a kind of bananas way to build a roster. It seems to me, but maybe I'm just a fool. I mean, it's
You
been said.
well, yeah, yeah, and again, we mentioned Egbuchulam, we mentioned Preston, and this is something that we're discussing before we press the record button tonight, Sean. But what do you think? And you mentioned just a second ago, what do you think that this means for Ben Morris moving forward? Very, very interesting, the guys that they're bringing on right now. It seems like they're, maybe overstacking. Maybe that's the wrong word for it, but I'm going to go with it anyway. Overstacking some of those attackers, some of those forwards.
Yeah.
What do you think that this could mean for Ben Morris, who is, again, coming off another knee injury, has injured both knees throughout his career. It was an ACL last year. What was it, a second or his third ACL um injury of his career?
Yeah.
But
Third.
moving forward though, I mean, the optics of some of these signings potentially may not be good when you look down and see Ben Morris down there with three ACL injuries.
Yeah. I mean, okay. So I'm going to kind of go back to some stuff I haven't talked about, which is that this does look like a 4-2-3-1 roster to me. You
Hmm.
basically got a two deep roster right now as a 4-2-3-1 roster. If we're playing five, we've got kind of wing back issues and um, probably not enough depth. We only have four center backs, and that's counting Rio Hope Gund as a center
Hmm.
back. So that could be tough. Um, so I think it's a 4-2-3-1, roster. Um, and in that way, it's as you're adding guys, you're like, okay, well, that's a second guy there. That's a second guy there.
Yeah, just
I don't
putting the pieces in
like
there.
right, but with Egbuchulam and Etaka, those are both pretty much out and out strikers. On top of Darren Smith and Ben Morris. Like, I just don't see any way you'd sign two free agent strikers in addition to the starter you've already got if you were expecting to get any minutes out of Ben Morris.
Yes.
Um, and that's, it's awful to imagine that a dude is 26 and his legs are gone. But that might be the case. And um, it just makes me feel sick for the kid. If that like when they signed Tabor Etaka today, that was I kind of had like a little knot in my stomach for Ben Morris. I was like, ooh, well, that's not a good sign.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, uh, uh,
Yeah, absolutely not a good sign. I mean, it's and you go back and you think to, Ben Morris specifically, when he first got here, um, in Detroit, he had a slow start to his career here, and he kind of took it on the chin from fans and supporters about that slow start, and he really kind of lived up to the moment. He settled in, he started becoming effective, and it sucks. It sucks, seeing him get to that point, and then all of a sudden, just struck down by yet another knee injury. And yeah, you
yeah.
you sit here and you wonder if he's ever going to step foot on a soccer pitch again.
Well, and like
Um,
yeah, and like at this point, um, I mean, I think I'd have to say that his career as a professional is essentially over, right? Like he can ride out this contract with us, but
mhm.
like it will be like professional malfeasance to pay him money assuming he's going to stay healthy and play football right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
You can't. I mean, from a business side standpoint, this is what sucks
right,
about it. You can't go and offer him another contract.
right. Like, and I just I hope that it's not as bad as it seems, but
Hmm.
it seems bad.
I mean, three ACLs, and he's only
Yeah,
26.
yeah,
I mean, maybe that's working for him that he's still only 26 and perhaps he can, you know, recover from it. But damn, that it seems tough. It seems
yeah,
tough, especially being a professional football player like himself, where obviously you depend on the strength of your legs to
yeah,
carry your
yeah. I
career.
mean,
But
it's the thing is like um it's pretty it's to me it seems a little unusual to a lot of times people get the people who have physical issues that the kind of stress of training and playing will inevitably kind of tear up. A lot of times get weeded out before they're signing professional deals. You know what I mean?
mhm.
Like they're a lot of times they're just not durable enough in the youth process to even really get a look. Like there's like availability is the first ability, and um, if you're never available as a junior, you're never getting put through. You know what I
Yep.
mean? So like it must be wild to have it all go your way until you're like 19 and then get an injury and then an injury and then an injury ooh, that is rough. And that's kind of what happened with Ben. Like he was he's in the Ipswich town system, and that is a really reputable like talent factory there. And he was a kid who was picked out when he was like 16, like he's going to become somebody coming through. And they groomed him, and he was at the point where he was going to start getting starts, and that's when the injuries happened. And it's tragic, but like there are 1,000 tragedies like that for every 20 guys who are on a roster. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to watch it play out in front of you, where generally it's played out before we've ever. And the people who have made it this far are people whose bodies are are insanely durable. Except for a quarter of our roster.
Quick, Sean, a question for you when it comes to Ben Morris and, maybe um Trevor's relationship with Ipswich, which I don't know. I don't know the extent of maybe of that relationship maybe he has with Ipswich now. I'm assuming it's good, but do you think that Ben Morris maybe was, considering that pedigree that he had before the injuries and, kind of, being picked up and scouted and everything when he was 16 years old, um, was his time in Detroit City, or not that it's over or anything like that or officially, but was his time with Detroit a maybe Ipswich, like a an unofficial loan to Detroit City to see, like, okay, let's send him to
No, I
Detroit
think
City and see how he does, and if he's effective, then we'll go ahead and we'll bring him back.
no, I think a club like Ipswich, once they turn the page on you,
It's done.
that's done.
Okay.
And I think he had, you know, the fact that he was on loan in like the second division in Sweden, prior to coming to us, um, tells me that like they were, they were like, okay, you need to figure out whether you can still play football, you
Yeah.
know. Um, and I think he, felt encouraged by what he experienced there and came here. And the level was higher than he expected, maybe, and he was just not quite at it yet. But the thing that won everyone over is that he didn't complain. He didn't, I mean, he may have felt self pity, but he didn't act out self pity on the playing field or in training. Um, and steadily improved. Like he just he just did the work and got better and became a valuable part of the team. And so that's, that's if this is the end for Ben, that's what I'll remember is that, he's a dude who didn't quit. And I think he's like a scratch golfer. So I wouldn't be surprised if he just turns the page and like, is gonna get his pro badge. Um because, that is a transferable talent, is the ability to focus, grind, get better. Um that's good in any sport. So
Yeah, I
uh,
hope maybe I hope if that's his fallback, then that sounds and I'm sure that'll be great for him. Yeah, maybe we'll see him on the European tour or something like that.
uh, like I always cheered for the kid.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I always appreciated how hard he seemingly worked, during his time here. And I mean, who knows? Maybe we will see him again at some point, but
Yeah.
like you said, it's not looking good after, these two signings. Um,
I mean, it's one of those things where it would be a big surprise, but I would love to be surprised, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
Um, so good.
Do you want to, was there anything else player-wise you wanted to touch on tonight? Um, because then
I
we
mean,
could move on to like the next. I
so
just didn't.
these are all thoughts that properly should be in a story which I owe y'all, and which I'm gonna be writing here real soon. But basically, um, this roster doesn't look bad to me. Like as a 4-2-3-1 roster. Okay, let's say here's the upside. Let's say Callum Montgomery is a better center back than Michael Bryant. Let's say he beats out Michael Bryant, and it's him and Devin in the middle. Let's imagine that, um, like Haruki Yamazaki looks really good as a kind of freewheeling left back in the opening weeks while we wait for Aiden Stanley to get 100% healthy. Um, and the attack, so building up to the midfield. We talked about Kobe and Maxi together, and in a 4-2-3-1, there is a bit more responsibility in there for one of them, but I think it's something they could get around. The thing to remember here is that Kobe is like 23. Like he
Hmm.
is still a very young player. And he was kind of boss in midfield for us last year.
Absolutely.
Um,
Was actually my
and
pick for Black Arrow.
like I really I think it will be like if the two egos, because all players have egos, right?
Sure.
But if the two egos can at least not conflict with each other, but can kind of leave space for each other or find a way to mesh, or ideally can like find inspiration in each other and really become a dynamic partnership. That is an extremely gifted pair of midfielders at the base of your midfield
Did you hear what
for
happened the
this
other day?
level. What's that?
Did you hear
Oh yeah, like Kobe slapped the kid.
the slap at the Toronto 2 friendly
Toronto
in
too.
Canton? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Toronto FC 2. Yeah, Kobe got sent off with it wasn't a straight red. I think it was a second. Well, it was a straight red because he would have gotten a red card for it, but he
Right.
was already on a yellow.
He struck a
Um,
dude.
yeah, I guess they got tangled up, and I don't know if Kobe was just like, okay, I'm done with this. I'm done with this.
I'm done with his friendly.
I'm done with this friendly right now, and
I
just
got my 70
slap the
minutes in. Let's go.
yes, slap the. There's a video game in the lobby that I wanted to get to before we head out. So it just slaps
Yeah.
the kid. That's what I was wondering too. Like, I mean, there's no locker rooms or anything there, so like, what happens? Because you got to leave the pitch. You can't just sit there and sit on the bench or anything like that. So I'm wondering if Kobe had to go
You have
into
to
the
go like
lobby and like I don't know, play some video games with some of the
get the
youth
bus
teams that were
driver
out
to
there. Yeah.
like turn the heat on. Start the thing up for me. Thank you.
Get some nachos or something like that from the concession stand.
Yeah. Any City fans here want to hook Kobe up with some red card nachos? Let's get it popping. Yeah.
But yeah, that was funny.
So, like, okay, I'm continuing with my best case
Sure,
scenario.
yep.
Like, So Ates Juf, uh, obviously we love him. We think he's great.
Absolutely.
Uh, let's hope that maybe like that they're right about Jesse Allen, that I'm wrong, that his lack of physicality either isn't a problem or is an issue that he's overcome, and that he is just dynamic and all the good stuff we saw from him as a pure 10 in front of Kobe and Maxi. And then Alex Dalu probably playing off the right. And you know, Darren, like if he can reproduce the hot streak, that's badass. Unfortunately, we had a lot longer look at the not hot streak last year, and
Yes.
it's hard to even remember the hot streak by the end of the
Yep.
season. Like, how did he have this many goals? Like, well, you know, he scored three over his last 28 matches or something. Like, oh, okay.
It was the definition of a tale of two different seasons for
Oof.
a player.
Yeah.
Like it was
And
a
the first season was 6 weeks long, and the second season was like 6 months long.
yes. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think yeah, Darren Smith is just one of those things. I mean, at this point, it almost seems like an extra. If they're able to get uh, adequate production out of him, that's a win. Just because, like you said, I mean, from what we saw last year, uh, Darren is completely dependent on the players around him, and
Yeah.
he's not a guy that's going to go and create anything for himself. So that's
Like
why we
I
hope.
see what, you know, I see why when you watch him play, especially when you're looking for an athletic forward, right? I
Hmm.
see why you look at him, because I think he would have been a really good running back. He's got he's quick and powerful, and you know his body would have developed differently if he was playing gridiron football.
Hmm.
Um, but he also has kind of that for like, you know, 8-way mobility, like where he's like he can move laterally very smoothly. Um, like he can his like I'm about to get weird here, but it seems like he has really good proprioception, meaning like his understanding of where his body is in space is very good. Um, and yeah, sorry,
No,
like
you're good. I just
um, but
I don't think that
like
was weird at all.
yeah. So, you know, like those are the things that like when I watch him play, I like, okay, well, like, yeah, if I was just looking for a guy, um, but then like you look at his numbers and they're very much like the numbers we've seen. And you're like, okay. And unfortunately, scoring goals in football is like one of those ineffable things that like some people got it, some people don't. So let's like what, you know, what are the possibilities that like Connor Rutz has a crazy year, or like you know, we've got some guys who can do some things who have been hurt or kind of unfavored. Um, and you know, I would love to see somebody like Connor kind of emerge. He's a guy who, let's say Jesse L struggles at the 10, like putting Connor in there is a way different look. But it's also a very kind of in the meta thing. Like, no, we're going to get people who can beat a guy and get a shot. We're gonna put him near goal. Like, like
Con
we're gonna reduce football to its simplest possible expression, and then like just hit that button as hard as we can over and over again.
Connor's another one of those guys that have become more impressive to me as we've, you know, as USL Championship has kind of carried on for us more. I know he
Right.
was another guy that took a lot of shit from fans and supporters earlier on. In our USL Championship
Yeah.
stint. A lot of people are saying, Trevor played him too much, and they thought that there were better options out there. The thing about Connor though is, I mean, Connor just to me is a guy that is always a guy that just goes out there and gives it, as cliche as it sounds, 110%. I don't think we ever have to worry about Connor not working hard enough.
Right.
And I think right now too, Considering when you're looking at some of these forwards that we do have, when you're looking at some of these strikers that we do have as well, um, we're gonna need Connor. I always thought Connor of kind of like that closer. Um, at the end of the games, you kind of go, you go put out there and just kind of run the other teams into the ground.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. I mean,
you're also going to kind of need a size too, right? I mean,
if
because
you've
you look
got
at some of
a
these,
if you've got a lead, um, Connor is a fantastic attacking sub.
yeah,
Because I mean, okay, so I think that a lot of the reason for Connor's for people to like disdain Connor is it's not hard to see the things that he lacks, right? The things he lacks are right there on the surface. Like he's not that tricky with the ball. He when we've put him into situations that really don't leverage his best, abilities, which is central midfield essentially.
hmm
He can look pretty pedestrian. But even in those moments where he looks pedestrian on the ball, the thing that you're losing is that his production, his work rate off the ball is tremendous, and not just like it's not just that he does a lot of sprints. It's that he's one of those guys who doesn't get lost in the sauce. Like the ball gets turned over and he knows where his next pressing trigger is or where his cue is, and he like steps into that role immediately. And so he's a valuable like kind of multiplier type player, especially if you're doing a demanding defensive scheme, because he can cover a lot of ground. He's very intelligent with his the way he shapes his runs and positioning. And I think that he's one of those players where when you look at the defensive solidity that we seem to have lost over the end of the season, and we're kind of like everybody goes, "What's wrong with the center backs?" And I think to me, a lot of it is, well, Connor was hurt, so we didn't have that guy who was who was kind of making it a little easier, making it like 10% easier for everyone else by being on it all the time as soon as the ball's turned over. Now you could argue that he gets some of those reps because he's turning the ball over. Like, okay, but I mean, a lot of guys turn. You don't get the same thing. A lot of guys turn the ball over. Like if you're attacking, you're trying things, you're going to turn the ball over. Like defenders are good and are going to, a lot of times going to suss you out. Nobody's 100% dribble. Nobody's 100% duels.
sure.
Um, so uh like the fact that and we don't get that kind of reaction from anyone else in the attacking group. They just um it's one of those things. I think increasingly it's something that you almost have to recruit for. Like um I'm here's a Liverpool moment. The current group at Liverpool just can't press the same way. And like people say, oh, Mo Salah's gotten old, and that's no, but Mo Salah was never that much part of the press. He was always kind of like a free guy. But you also had people like um, uh, Diaz on the left, just like demons. People who were like their hair's on fire. The previous midfield was like, you know, three lunch bucket guys. The classic midfield that won the Premiership the first time with Klopp, which like Henderson and Milner, like two dudes who were just like running around kicking guys, basically. Who I mean, okay, they obviously had some talent there, whatever, but like a lot of kicking, a lot of running. And I don't think it's something you can get players in the middle of their career to suddenly be good at. That like endless hunger that some players clearly have. You have to find it or develop it in children. Like you can't get adults to do that. And it's too bad because like if we had a couple more guys like Connor, we could really be a pressing team. And at this point, like I struggle to see us pressing anybody.
Is he a guy that you're gonna have to depend on too, because with his size? I mean, he's not a
It's like, he's a tweener. That's the thing.
Yes,
That's why people get upset with him when he's an attacker, because he's like, they're like, as an attacker, he's a guy with good size. He can
yeah.
play with back to goal, and he can create his own. He is good at finding an angle to just like take a whack at it. You know what I
And it
mean?
seems like you need that right now, especially with the attackers that we do have.
Right.
I mean,
Well,
the
and
two
like
guys that we just signed are 5'9". I mean, they're
yeah,
my
put a shot
height,
on
and
goal.
yeah,
You give the keeper a chance to make a mistake, or parry it back into play where somebody else can get a stab at it. Like, it's not always about whether you think you're going to score that moment. Um, but you got to put the shot on goal, and that
I
Connor
look,
does pretty well at that. So
I look,
I'm a Connor Rutz liker. So
yeah.
I'm
So,
coming out
so
of the closet. I enjoy Connor.
I think back too to that, all the way back to Nisa, and that run that we had, where we're just that undefeated run that we had, and then finally that one game came around. It was at Keyworth. We're playing Stumptown, and it
Yep.
was that game we lost. And from what I can remember in that game, we were just getting pounded inside the 18. We didn't have any size to counter. And what were we missing that game? We were missing Connor Rutz in that game. Connor Rutz was not playing in that game that we ended up losing to Stumptown. And I think that value could carry over. I think it has carried over. And I think people maybe are starting to realize that now. I'm hoping they're starting to realize that now, when it comes to a guy like Connor Rutz and in how in what value he does offer to Detroit City FC, and just kind of how he's carved out a place for himself in USL Championship. And I think that's great. I think that
Yeah,
that works for him.
as a dude that like came to open tryouts basically before we were in Nisa, that Trev was like, okay, this kid's got something.
Hmm.
Uh, and yeah, really great story. You know, I know we plan to pivot to talking about how are we making these, who's making these decisions, but I
Yeah.
also wanted to, I'm just looking, I just realized that like there was a thing I meant to say earlier
Yeah. Go
that
ahead.
when I was talking about the possible upsides, like one of the bigger wild cards on this roster, a guy who can make a tremendous difference, I think, if he is suddenly healthy and at his, approaching his best, would be Laye Diop.
Yes.
Because like Laye is a different kind of defensive midfielder. He likes to carry the ball a lot. He's extremely good at it. And, as we've talked about before, a dude who can like beat a guy and carry the ball through the open space in the midfield is exactly what you need to defeat man-to-man pressure, which is what absolutely, rat fucked us last year. And uh, at various times, neither, like it can, if we could build it, if somehow Lai is healthy and or could build
Somehow.
his way
Yeah.
to health, or maybe he's just healthy right now and we just don't know, like because we're having a secret preseason that no one can see. So, like who knows? Uh, but like if he's healthy, like that could be incredibly helpful. As we try to find a group that fits together and creates chances, um, some kind of way. Um, so I don't know. I just wanted to throw Laye Diop out there because I was looking down the roster and saw his name, was like shit. I forgot to say the thing about Lai.
Is he
So
is he one of those guys that could help out too with maybe some of the holes that they may potentially have at center back,
I mean, I
being that more defensive midfielder?
if we were, I mean, if we were playing, are you asking if Lai could play center back?
No, no, I'm not saying asking if he can play center back,
Oh,
but
okay, yeah.
if he can help mask maybe some of those holes back there by his abilities as more of a defensive midfielder.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he, if he's
Does that
if he,
maybe let Danny do a couple more things tactically than if Lai isn't out there?
well, if Laye is healthy, that opens the possibility of having a midfield. It's 9:30. Time to skip the cat boxes once again. Um, the, the having a midfield kind of going with a jumbo heavy midfield, right? Which is
Sure.
like Laye and Kobe and Maxi. Um, and I think that could work, honestly. And that would screen off a whole lot, and create a whole lot of, um, like, not only can one of you go forward, but we really need at least one of you to go forward.
Hmm.
um, so, and the runners from midfield are hard to track. So, if that's the idea, to play like a four and a deep three with a lot of you know forward motion from the 4-3-3 with a deep three, and then create a lot of forward motion that way, or let let Devin jump in and have people cover, to create that kind of flexibility, especially if people are going to start going man to man. Like now, then football starts looking a lot more like basketball, where you want to beat a guy and, like, get a guy free, and like setting picks and things like that. Like,
Sure.
and now I have a feeling that the man-to-man stuff is gonna kind of come to, basically they're gonna do what basketball has done, which is it's the same evolution where, when you're pressing full court, man-to-man is good. Uh, in the once they've got stable possession, man-to-man is too exploitable, and they'll drop into two banks of four, and that'll be the new meta. Um, so I don't know. I think that would be interesting, but it's one of those things, like, I'd have to watch it work a little bit to
Yeah.
see if, like, it's be down to the particular players and the way they're relating to each other, and not it's not a like a tactical thing. It would be more like, are these guys able to mesh?
Well, hopefully, I know it is. The team hasn't said much about the preseason. They do offer out these little infographics after every match, but that's it. Lai does have a couple of goals this preseason, so hopefully that
Good. Well, I
is
mean,
some good indication that he is
if we're
healthy.
to continue our conversation around the meta, like, okay, so the previous, like, just to lay it out there in case you're like the football meta, like, okay, as in all human undertakings, the humans make the thing more complicated than it is by creating, like, kind of variations or ways they're playing with each other, and then, like, people figure out a way to defeat that variation, and then that back and forth. And where we are in football, is we have gone through a transformation since roughly, I'd say, 2019 or so, where data, the prevalence and availability of data about football, and what kind of, really, the metric known as expected goals, XG, has revealed that, shots outside the area and shots from wide spaces are massively less valuable than shots in a small cone in front of the goal, relatively close to goal. And so what's happened is an intense effort on the part of everyone at every level of football over the last, like, say, 6-7 years, to produce as many shots within that magic cone as possible. And um, and so the changes we're seeing now, the meat wall, the increasing physicality, all of that, the kind of really packing the penalty area with bodies defensively, um, is a response to that. A response to the effort to create those shots, a response to the data that indicates those shots are the best ones. Like, okay, so the defense is thinking too. And they're like, all right, well, those are the ones we really need to X out. Which leads us to say, what's going to be next, right? And one of the things that should be next, one surmises, is that those decent shots just outside the penalty area should start to look better over time. should start to be a more prominent part of the game again. Because if you're really insane about stopping all the shots inside the penalty area, you're not gonna step out as hard on that guy who's letting one go from 23 yards, right?
Hmm.
And um, so one imagines that what we're going to see is some guys or several guys or lots of people who naturally have this ability to strike a good flat shot from distance, start to pile up goals. And I'm hoping that's what we're seeing from Laye Diop, because that is a talent he has had since the first time he was here in like 2018. Like
2018, yeah. Before he left for
like
Atlanta United
he
too.
didn't score any goals that way, but he could always, like, he would put shots on goal and like kind of make you realize like, oh, you got to step to him, um and as a mature adult player, he's very good at it. He's
Hmm.
clearly worked on it a lot. Like his ability to just run up and strike a ball and have it stay flat and like hook down. Um, like it's a very specific kind of trajectory you're looking for, right? You don't want it to be too flat. You don't want it to just have to go through all the bodies, but you can't, like, if you don't get a downward curve on it, if you don't have that, like, if you haven't perfected just striking a ball naturally so that it pulls down, everything's going to sail off way over the goal, into the seats behind the goal. So uh, that would be a really cool development. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
If
Yeah,
like
no,
if
absolutely.
Lai was healthy and also was part of this, like, continuing push of the meta toward, like fucking bangers. Um, which, I'm down for. Like, I gotta say, like, I understand that there's kind of there's a low level kind of outcry basically among, you know, soccer talking dudes about the way the game is moving, the increasing physicality and the emphasis on set pieces and long shots and all that kind of stuff. But like, you can also see why that stuff became popular, like why the English loved it in the first place. You know, because like long shots are fucking awesome.
They're
Like
bangers, man.
fucking bangers. Like, wait a minute, we're increasing the number of bangers. Like, I don't give a shit if it like it mathematically is better. Like, that just feels way better.
Hell yeah.
Uh, so yeah, I'm let's go.
Give me the equivalent of a Sid Bloomquist banger set piece on the men's team.
Oh man,
I would love to
that's
see something like
I
that.
I feel like Kobe is but Kobe Lai was taking free kicks for a while there,
Hmm.
before he got hurt. Like, we got some guys who can Ryan Williams can shape a ball.
Ryan Williams
Uh,
can. Yeah, I think he had one against Houston in that
had to
Open
like
Cup match.
yeah. Well, that was like wasn't well, didn't he score like from 35 yards on like a volley?
Was that the Houston match? The
I think it
Open
was
Cup
a
match?
Houston man. Was it? Or was
Okay.
it did he score a free kick? I don't remember, man.
I
My,
remember him
my
having I thought I remember him having a couple of bangers. And I
I
thought the Houston match was one of those.
he might be right.
That's what
Like,
we need Garrett for on this when he because Garrett can Garrett can
right,
recall that stuff.
dude.
You know.
Yeah, he'd be like, yeah, it was in the 57th minute.
Yeah, it was in the 57th minute
Yeah,
in
June.
2022
Yeah,
again.
June.
Yeah.
Yeah, June 18th, 2022.
Well, the weather was 82 degrees
Yeah,
and it was partly
exactly.
cloudy out.
Number one of the charts was no, sorry.
No, I'm with you on. I think that if you get a healthy lie, is it fair to say, Sean, that this could be one of the more effective Detroit City FC midfields that we've seen in quite some time?
I mean, I think if Lai is healthy, this is the most gifted midfield we've had.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so um, if we had better goal scorers, I would be pretty optimistic right now.
There you go,
Um,
Sean. If people are sitting there dogging us for not being positive enough, there's some positivity for you. What you
yeah.
just
Well, I mean,
mentioned.
okay, we're not even talking about Haruki Yamazaki, who I think is a midfielder. Um, and or Jesse L, who technically is a midfielder. Um, there's some talent in this midfield, but the league is getting tougher every year. You know, uh, Lexington's expecting to
Yes.
like walk dog walk the league.
Lexington spent all the money this
Yeah.
year.
Lou City, Lou City isn't exactly like, just like sending players out to retirement and calling it a
No.
day. Like,
Lou City's still Lou City.
well, and Lou City is the rare USL side that has a really productive academy system, like they've they've blooded in, top level starters in the last like 3 seasons and sold
And
them
they
for
and they
big
and they sell them
money.
off. Yeah. Yeah.
So like, like people talk about Detroit City and other clubs, like you have to understand, like we are a mid-table team in terms of like our resources and the depth of investment happening here. And like, we don't like that. And I think we have found ways in the past to massively outstrip our spending in terms of results. And I think we'll probably need that to continue if we're going to um, if we're going to be a top club in this league,
Yep.
and not just like making up the numbers. Like you know, like I mean, there's nothing wrong with being Everton, right? There's nothing wrong with being uh, Birmingham. There's nothing wrong with being Real Sociedad, right?
Hmm.
Um, that's that's most of football. Um, and uh, I just feel like at this point we're kind of just settling into that groove, and we don't seem to be doing anything particularly innovative uh, to outperform our spending. Um, and so I hope all these bets are right, and hope all the guys that have health questions are healthy. And I hope, hope is not a plan, but I am not a person who has to make a plan. And if it all comes together, I will be delighted, and we will revisit this, and I will talk about being wrong. See, this is the difference between like this thing and a lot of those things, right? Where like we're not shock jocks who are here who are going to like drop a hot take and like never revisit it because we just count on you to have the like concentration powers of a goldfish. Like
Not
well,
studio gangsters. Yeah.
like that's just not like we'll be back here and we'll reevaluate this, and I think they've done things wrong, and I think I've really well documented what I think they've done poorly, and we'll see. Um, and if it goes well, I will be delighted because my team is winning. And if it goes poorly, I will be less delighted, but I will have the quiet satisfaction of being right. So, you know, I feel like my bet is in a good place right now.
We're all just having a little Rio Hope Gund, right?
Exactly.
That's
Hope ground, as transfermarket.us calls him.
oh
Rio Hope ground. Um,
uh,
like I can't find the numbers that the backheeled guys are looking at. I went sniffing around MLS2 to try to find his numbers, and I just couldn't find like much. But they seem very high on Rio. So
hey,
like,
if
hey man, I hope so. I really hope that Rio Hope Gun is great. Maybe Chisom Egbuchulam has played for 9 teams in 10 years or something and hasn't played for 6 months, but he's found his forever club and he's going to play till he's 37 and he's going to retire a legend. I don't know.
yeah, you
Could happen.
yeah.
Um, so, maybe we're the people who are going to finally unlock Preston, Tabort, Etaka. So tantalizing. I don't know.
Well, you were talking about these new signings, talking about, I don't know, potentially saving money. One other thing I wanted to get to tonight, Sean, it happened at the owners' meeting last week. Came out and said that they're basically not going to be hiring a sporting director. It's going to be sporting director by committee. They're going to have
No
a
way.
couple of, yeah, they're going to have a couple.
Like,
Yeah,
this is
it's,
where if we had like tech people, there would be a cut to us saying they're not going to fucking hire anybody, right? This is just going to be Danny. No, 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 no,
yeah.
no, no, no. We are absolutely going to hire somebody, you guys. Just take it to the bank now, sir. I'll tell you what. Well, none you can put your last dollar on this fact that there's going to be a sporting director at
Yeah,
Detroit City FC. Like, oh my God.
yeah, they're gonna be it seems like it's a big by committee. I don't know. I guess they're gonna be leaning on Philip De Los Santos, the new assistant coach, because he had some general manager experience when he was with the Valier FC, which I don't know. I don't think he did very well there. So
Danny's friend to be Danny's assistant, and the fact that he was a general manager for a bad team that went out of business means that he is qualified to.
yeah,
That doesn't, there is no self-dealing in this entire circle of things I just described. It's like
yeah.
it's so immaculate and perfect. I am gobsmacked once again by the immaculate perfection of the decision making that's on display here.
They're gonna be I guess they're gonna be, leaning on Dwayhe, which again, I don't have any problems with them leaning on Dwayhe. I guess
I just wish they named
Alex,
Leahy the sporting director and
same here. If they just came
uh,
out and they said David Dwayhe's gonna be
because
the
like
sporting
what
director,
this
I would have been
is,
like, yeah.
is that diffusion of responsibility so that no one's responsible. It's like we're having AI do it. That's the
Yeah.
problem with all this AI stuff. To me, the problem is that you can't an AI can't be responsible for anything. So it's
No,
like
yeah,
asking your
you can't blame a
5-year-old to do
computer.
it.
Yep. Yeah, you can't blame
And
a computer.
what did you expect? Okay, well, like here's what we expect. We expect to be able to ask questions to the guys who make these decisions and get answers at some point. 4 times a year would be nice. Generally, every week after a game is when it would be nice.
Yeah, and
Like
if
the fact that like talking to us is entirely optional. I get that. I get that. But then don't complain that your story isn't getting out there. Like then fucking nut up. Like this it's billionaire brain, right? Everyone should do what I want to do without being incented or anything because I'm smart and I decided and okay, well nobody's listening to you. Like you swallow billionaire brain. You got to fucking be honest and talk to people. I am sorry. I know it's hard, but I think you got it in you.
Yeah, if they would have came out, and because I know Stephen Carroll's going to be part of these decisions too that are being made. I don't know to the extent, but his name was thrown out there at the owners' meeting.
But
And yeah,
again,
like
like
you
it
said,
just feels
Sean,
like
if
it's a
they,
smoke screen. It's like a
yeah,
diffusion of responsibility. Like, well, it'll be a lot of people that you like. Are there names that will make you feel good right now? We might ask Cyrus Sadie to come in
yeah,
and tell us his opinion.
yeah,
I
because if
don't
yeah,
know.
you,
Who do you like from before? Okay, like you know, Stevie's input will be invaluable when evaluating people he's played against, I think, probably. But
hmm
Stevie doesn't have years and years of film study and like scouting. Scouting is a distinct skill set, evaluating where a player is, evaluating how their game is being expressed within this system and how it might be expressed differently in other systems. Like that's sometimes a little bit tricky. Like maybe he's really good at it. Um, and we'll find out that he's great at it. But like assuming that he's just going to be great at it because he played is there's lots of history in sports to indicate that that is a fallacious idea.
yeah, no,
Um,
I think you nailed it on the head, Sean. Is this kind of, them setting things up to the point where there is none of that,
Nobody's responsible. There's nobody can
none of
ask.
that
The buck
responsibility there.
stops
Yes.
nowhere.
The buck stops. No, I mean, I guess it stops with Danny. I mean, who knows? I guess, he's got to be the
Does it
one that,
though?
I don't know.
You lost
Maybe.
like 13 games in a row, and they were like, 2 more years, my
Well,
guy. Like,
well,
okay.
I'll tell you what. Maybe it does, Sean, because I think that because something that Alex said was that well they interviewed some candidates and they weren't 100% confident in any of them. The way I look at that
Do
is
we know if that's true?
no. This is what I was gonna say. Like
This is what how corrosive like this kind of bullshitting is like,
I
well,
don't
okay, now we don't know whether anything you say is actually true.
Yes, I can't say I don't know if it's true or not. I just have
Let's
this
assume it's
feeling.
true. Let's
My
stipulate that it's true and
assume it's true, but I will
move
tell
forward.
you what, Sean, I wouldn't be surprised if no if they didn't interview anybody. And I'll tell you why. Because you do because you don't hire the head coach before you hire the sporting director. That's just not the way that you go about doing things. And I've
Like
said
if
it plenty of times in the past. It's backwards, and you take away one of the most important decisions that a sporting director is going to have to make, and you made it for them. And all of a sudden, they're attached at the hip to that guy,
right,
that head coach that you already have in
right.
place there.
Well,
And
like okay, so basically, you know, like if in a traditional sporting director, head coach environment, the sporting director the coach reports to the sporting director. If it's the other way
yes,
around, that's not a sporting director.
no,
That's a recruitment director or
it's Philip De
recruitment.
Los Santos. That's who it
Right,
is.
right, right. And like okay, well, like if you're changing the structure, then just say that. Uh, and understand that that means that it's not stupid for us to say, Wait, so Danny's doing this. That's not like Danny's Philip's boss. Like he
Hmm.
can tell Philip to do whatever the fuck he wants to, right? Like
Yeah.
you have really doubled down on Danny in this situation. And that what I am saying is that if as a like from a 30,000 feet, Danny has none of the characteristics of a manager that you double down on. Like this is a mistake, not from a moral perspective. Well, yes, from a moral perspective, but also just from a football perspective. Like Danny's football, you know, bona fides are not deserving of the increase in power and increase in security that he's been granted. And it feels to me like what they've done is they've given Dan, like they'd let Danny hire his crash test dummy, who's going to be the guy he throws under the bus if things don't go like to keep his job at midseason if it's shit,
Hmm.
right? Like, so you just let him bring in a fucking like, um, you know, a bumper. Okay. Um, Yeah, there's been no announcements about hiring people for scouting or any like they're like the investment is going uh into stupid things, I think, and that we are putting no money into seeking competitive edges, except that we consider for some reason Danny and his ideas to be a competitive edge. And
Yeah.
like you know, I um I just don't see any evidence that that's a true thing. And
Yeah.
it's like, it's just another galling bit of absurdity in a world that is like almost entirely galling and absurd.
Yeah. I just and again, I want to just clarify too. Like, I don't know if they actually hired or if they actually interviewed anybody. I'm again, we assume that they did because that's what
I
they
mean,
said.
like,
Um,
yeah, and they very well may have. And like it's not like there's, you know, people there's obvious candidates thick on the ground, like um I think for a lot of USL championship sides, if they get to mid-season and they're having a struggle, the guy they're probably going to see what Trevor's up to, you
yeah.
know, and like so, well, they can't call him. So I mean, they could, but their pride dictates that such a thing will never happen. Um, And so, who's out there?
I
There's not a
will,
lot of obvious guys.
Sean, I will say this, that I can't assume that there were any serious candidates that applied for it, given how they went about things during the off season as far as, locking down Danny for 2 years, taking away that opportunity to hire your own head coach. I can't imagine that there was a good, serious candidate out there
Well,
that was interested in the job because of the way that things went with that.
yeah, I think the shape of the job you would be doing would, once they kind of explain that you are going to be the recruitment person, but Danny's going to have a lot of the say, and then
Hmm.
you know, they're not saying he's reporting to you. You're going to hear that if
Yep.
you're interviewing, and so you're going to be like, oh, okay, so I'm going to just be like the age. I'm going to be the guy who deals with agents for Danny.
Hmm.
Like, that's a much less appealing job than like being a sporting director.
Yeah.
Like, he's just going to assign me all the scut work. I'm going to have to deal with the agents. I'm going to have to like watch, 8 billion hours of Y Scout footage because they're not going to hire any scouts. Like, I'm going to have to become a scout. And, uh, that's like it's not surprising that they're just like shoving it off on the assistant coach because like who wants that job and what are they, I mean Detroit City's probably offering a $35,000 and one bedroom and a two-bedroom apartment as your like compensation. So
um, yeah. So I mean, again, I mean, who knows how that's going to shape up? Again, like we said, it's truly a committee. It is truly a committee. I mean, Alex highlighted different guys that will be doing different things. As
you
far as negotiating the contracts. Like you said, Dwayne's going to play a role in it.
It's a
Stephen
very
Carroll's going to play a
complex
role in it.
network of interdependent needs, and we don't know who's really responsible. And don't blame us if anything's wrong at all.
Yeah,
Goodbye. Like,
yeah. It was.
I mean, it's I'm trying not to like just roast them. I don't want to be that way, but I kind of feel that way. And like it just it is hard to escape the feeling that something essential has been lost and probably forever. And um, I can't tell you how much it breaks my fucking heart. Like I really hate it.
I think it was a cost cutting thing too. Like I
Yeah.
don't like I think it was a cost cutting thing. Like I don't think that um I don't know if they ever were
It's a
dead
it's a
set on
cla-
hiring a
it's a
sporting director.
classic it's a classic city move, right?
Yeah.
Just not hire
After
somebody, put the money in your pocket, be like, hey, we're all splitting it.
yep.
We're
After
all.
after yep.
I'm sorry.
After they dismissed Trevor, hey, we're saving a bunch of money. We don't need to hire another sporting director. Let's just, we got a bunch of guys on staff already, and we can just divvy up the responsibilities
Yeah,
from
they have the
there.
responsibilities. Like, so we could probably like let's say that we demand 8% of everyone's time to do of everyone's work time to do what Trevor did. So if we just get like 12 and a half guys doing 8%, we probably can replicate what Trevor spent in his entire life doing.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Like that's more billionaire brain, right? Just every person is just a person, just one person. Like the only indispensable person is me, the billionaire, right? Okay, that's just not how anything works. Um, and
Yeah, you get
gah,
yeah, I
that's the
mean,
new name for this podcast. Gah.
Gah. Maybe that's the name for this episode is Gah.
I was
Um,
like Island of Misfit Toys. That's what I was gonna call the story that I've been like kicking
oh,
back and forth.
the new words about
The the new
words
words
about
about
shapes.
shapes is yeah, because it's just like it's like so many guys off injuries and so many strikers just kind of tossed in at the last minute, like hey, a couple strikers, let's go. It feels like someone's crappy half out like if if a friend of mine was like, "Hey, here's like I've been playing Football Manager and my save is not going well. Can you tell me what's wrong?" Yeah, I could go in there and like, okay, let's look through your transfer history. Okay, so you added two strikers like at the end of preseason within like 3 days of each other. What was going on there? Like, well, we only had the one guy and like, okay, but like, when did it like you're planning for the preseason began in like what, September, October? Like you identified that you needed a starting striker then, right? Like, well, I was worried about the midfield, so I really spent a lot of time there. Like, oh, I mean, yeah, you like signed a guy. I see that. And I just you got to the end of the window and you kind of shit yourself, right? You just found two free agents that you could sign for like no transfer fee, and like, well, yeah, they weren't asking for too much. Like, okay, okay. Well, that's where it started to go bad. All right. Like, listen, you got to be more intentional about these things. Like, this game is going to punish you the way the real football will punish you if you just kind of like throw it together. Like, sometimes it'll work, but that's like one time out of like 25, and the other 24 times it like just collapses and you're like, why? And it's because you didn't spend enough time planning. Like, unfortunately, this game, Football Manager or football, is like success in it is largely about like really boring things like planning. And if you don't do that boring shit, then like the exciting shit never gets as exciting as you wish it would.
Well, um, Sean, do we have anything else we want to touch on tonight?
Um, no.
All right.
I
Well,
I had my brain went through a million things. I want to say shout out to the United States hockey teams who especially the women
yep.
who really set a new level this Olympics. Like the what we were seeing from the US women reminded me of the basketball that the first dream team played. Like, it was so overwhelmingly good. um and then the fact that they today told the White House to fuck off about them
Nah,
showing up
yeah,
at
we
the
got other things that we
TV.
got to do.
Like, listen, we're busy having gay sex and telling you to fuck yourself. So,
Megan Keller
uh,
too, local girl. Farmington Hills,
oh, really? Okay. Well, I mean,
scoring the game winning goal
it's
against
wild how many
Canada.
Michiganders were involved in both teams. Like,
Oh
oh
yeah,
wow,
definitely,
I,
definitely. Yeah, tons of them. Tons of
yeah,
them. Yeah, but Megan Keller though, yeah, awesome to see her get that game-winning goal. And again, extra cool that she is local too. So
yeah.
you know, hopefully, we always talk about growing the game soccer. Hopefully that it continues to grow the game, especially on the women's side
Oh,
of
yeah.
hockey.
I gotta feel like, well, okay. So the other thing that I think that the women's continued, you know, domination. I think that we have kind of forgotten about Title IX a little bit,
Hmm.
as a like culture, and like the reason that our women look so athletic compared to women from other parts of the world is that the production of athletic people is largely a cultural artifact of athletic culture, and the United States has had an established women's athletic culture since the mid 70s because of Title IX.
Hmm.
And um, that's why you know that's why we beat England in football, like a drum, a lot of the time, because at the end of the day, they've got great footballers, and we've got many very good footballers who are incredible athletes and are born out of an athletic culture that was like literally outlawed in England until you know a generation later than in the United States. Um, So, like, I guess this is me as a person who believes in public goods, saying that I think we need to recognize the role our public goods in the terms of Title IX, which is the public good of equality. Um, so what role it plays in these, triumphs that are then attempted to be co-opted by people who those hate equality. So,
Yeah, which is definitely coming under fire, now,
and
unfortunately.
all good things are under fire.
Yep.
Like Like the fact
We,
that like, I'm kind of sad that Detroit City is absolutely escaping all kinds of criticism, and like this is not like you're on the wrong side of history if everybody's happy with you right now as an organization.
mhm. Um, yeah, it seems like we've been thrust back into the early 1920s when it's,
Mm.
2026 and, the United States, and all of a sudden we're, this whole idea, of woke as being some pejorative bad thing, is crazy. It's crazy to
It's
think about.
the thing I'm worried now, of course, like just to kind of place this in time, if you're listening to this for some reason, months or years from now, um, it seems that we're likely to have a pivot to having maybe multiple large wars happening that the United States is actively involved in,
Mhm.
um, which could bring a new sort of intensity to the whole
Sure.
worsening of things. And yeah, we are in interesting times, sadly. So
Yeah.
we are cursed.
Unfortunately. Yep, unfortunately. But yeah, definitely congratulations to both the men's and especially the women's team, and what they're able to do at the Winter Olympics this year.
Oh, hey, this is the thing I thought of earlier that I thought, and I need to wait.
Uh-huh.
So I should have responded to Ray. I just remembered it as we started recording. And, as a member of the 451 family,
Uh-huh.
you know, I gotta send all respect to Godfather Red, who, uh, the founder who's still among us.
Uh-huh.
And uh, he sent me some lines for a rap, and
Oh yeah.
I was supposed to respond to him. I think they're banging, and I hope he records it. I think it's fantastic, and I just realized that as we started recording that I had never gotten back to him, and the way my brain works is I'm likely to get off of the microphone and completely forget about this once again. So I'm going to put this in here in the podcast. Like, yo, Red, if you're listening, go, man, it's a go. Like, I love it.
I think
Uh,
he sent it to me too. And I feel
okay.
bad with no, I do the same thing too. Specifically with Red, because one time I like didn't respond to his text and I completely forgot about it. And then he came back at me one day and he's like, I know you read it because it said read on the text message. It said you read it on the text message. I'm like, I'm sorry, dude, I forgot.
Hey, listen, like I always like one thing I say this to people occasionally. It's a thing I say, which is you're obviously underestimating how stupid I am. Like
I
I can forget things very quickly.
yeah, I am the worst. I'm the worst texter ever. I will leave somebody on read and I don't intend to do that.
Oh yeah,
I don't mean to do it, and I
yeah.
apologize to anybody out there who I have left on red. Um, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't do it on purpose, though.
Like I think that fortunately I'm getting to the age now where people are just kind of like, oh, he's just like a grandpa, and he's like, they think I can't like I'm fumbling, like imagine me fumbling at the phone, going, how do I respond to this thing? When in fact I'm just like, oh, I'll get back to that in a minute, and then like that minute is a lifetime long. So
Well, kind of looking ahead here, Sean. I'm assuming we're not going to be on next week, but the week after that, it's going to be match week.
it's match week, yeah. So
Match week.
2 weeks,
So
I think,
yeah,
yeah.
we'll be back again for that, unless something unspeakable happens, which that forces us to get
Always
on.
possible, yes.
It is possible. And it seems like the last time we said that something did happen and we had to record. But yeah, we're going to be looking to take, next week off again. Um, but after that, it'll be match week and we'll be for the men
Will
and we'll be
be.
looking to, head into there. And I think too, I want to say that the women's side, indoor side, will be getting into the playoffs here pretty soon as well.
Yeah, I think that's
Um,
right.
but in the meantime, though, this coming weekend, a little bit of self supporters group promotion. It is going to be Kill the Keg for the women's match, indoor match this weekend
Yep,
at
yep.
the Detroit City Clubhouse. So if anybody can come on down to that, catch the indoor match, help kill a keg or two,
And
bid
I'm
on some
remembering
items. Yep.
like remember when we in 20 I remember doing it in 2019 and it was at the clubhouse and like I was running the clubhouse so and we killed like they killed the kegs so fast. It was like 45 minutes like hey like everybody's like wow I haven't even got a beer yet like
And we have a dead keg in here, so
sorry we they really went through it. Yeah, it was really fast.
but yeah, make sure you guys, if you can, come on out. And there's gonna be items to bid on, before the match, during the first half, and I think bidding's gonna wrap up at halftime. So again, there are some cool items out there as well. So there's some old tifo, some old merch items I think that you can bid on. So like I said, come on out, have a good time, kill a keg or two, and watch the women probably steamroll. I think they're playing Youngstown this weekend.
Oh my
Um,
God,
yeah, so it's gonna be another one of those
they're
bloodbath.
already dead.
Yeah, women's. Yeah, it's gonna be that Simpsons meme where you have a bunch of kids on the sidelines crying to the, you know,
Right.
saying the other team, Youngstown, has already been unalived on the indoor soccer pitch by the end of the first quarter.
Yeah,
But yeah. Anyways, Sean, it's been fun tonight.
been good.
Yeah, we will. Like I said, we'll be back again in 2 weeks. Looking ahead to that men's match. Probably looking ahead to some women's indoor playoff. But in the meantime, yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
See you next time.
Hey everyone, thanks for checking out this episode of Make City Make Spence. To see not only this one, but prior Make City Make Spence episodes, go to detroit.themajorsports.com where you can check out all of our catalog and all things going on with not only Detroit City FC centric content, but any Majors Detroit content in general. Additionally, you can find us on YouTube at The Majors TV. Be sure to hit like and subscribe if you already haven't yet. And you can also find us on wherever you check social media stuff out. We are on Twitter and Instagram at TMSNX Detroit, Blue Sky at TMSNX Detroit, bsky.social, and The Majors Detroit on Facebook. Additionally, wherever you check out your podcast, be sure to not only like and subscribe, but leave a 5-star review. It goes a long way in helping out all of our efforts here at The Majors Detroit. Thanks again, and catch you next time.